Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Tips to Top the Unofficial Bar. I have today with me one of the senior members in this legal profession, Mr. Ananda Wijesekara, President Counsel, and he is going to share with me tips to top the unofficial bar. Thank you very much for your time for the interview, sir, today.
Welcome.
You have been in the profession over 5 decades, and especially in the area of criminal law. Would you like to recollect the beginning of your professional career, and in which year you came into the profession and under whom you did your apprentice period?
Yes, I was enrolled as an advocate to the Supreme Court in September 1959. And I commenced working as an apprentice to Mr. Nevis Samarkon, Queen's Counsel, later Chief Justice of Sri Lanka, and continued to work with him for a considerable period of time. Thereafter, I worked with Sir Uppatte Jayasundara QC, and I was introduced into criminal law by him. Worked with him for some time, and subsequently joined the chambers of Mr. K.C. Nadarajan, with whom I worked for quite a long time as his junior. Of course, I have had the good fortune of working with a number of other criminal lawyers like Mr. Gigi Ponnambalam QC, Mr. George Chitty QC, Mr. Bakumar Kulasingham, and in my later years with Mr. Early Perera, President's Counsel.
So have you picked criminal law? How did you pick the that you want to do criminal law, not civil law? Was it accidentally happen, or have you had a vision as a beginning, as a student, that I want to do criminal law?
No, it was no accident. It was my choice, because I always thought of what I would be capable of, and I had in my mind that I would be capable of doing a good cross-examination of witnesses. With my background as a member of the debating team of my school, with my background as president of the Students' Council of the University of Ceylon, Peradeniya, so I chose criminal law, and I have been very, very satisfied that I chose the correct area of work.
So for this over 5 decades practice in the profession, you have produced a number of juniors, number of young lawyers have worked under him in different fields, and some of them have of course completed 30-40 years now in the profession. And one of your junior, Mr. U.R. De Silva, celebrated 30 years in the profession recently. How important and what is the obligation of senior lawyers to produce young lawyers?
Sorry, I didn't follow it.
You have produced number of young lawyers who are under you. They are now doing quite good in the profession. You have, I feel you have fulfilled that obligation quite well in terms of producing talented lawyers to this profession in your chambers. You told them how important a senior lawyer to train their juniors to be good lawyers.
A senior lawyer has a huge responsibility. If he is ready to accommodate junior lawyers in his chambers, his duties are manifold. A, you will have to teach them the basic principles of being a good lawyer. I'll come to that later, but how I train them would be that all my consultations were in their presence. All the references were done by them. And when I was satisfied that they could cross-examine, I would even give them the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses, and I would sit by their side. If it was an address to the jury or even submission, I would sit by them and listen to them, and I do it even at the moment. I remember I was out in the country in one or two major cases, like the Ralph Bulgen's abduction case. And I think it was my junior U.R.D. Silva who made the submission. And of course, all the accused were acquitted. So, my point has always been that I do not believe in not having the juniors in my chambers when clients come in. To me, they are an important factor to be present because they will know the case, they will know how to do the references, and I believe they even listen to my question in the clients. So that is very important.
Sir, in this profession, you have had lots of experience, and I'm sure you had so many experience from which you also might have learned something, but most importantly, other young lawyers and law students can learn something. Would you like to share with us some of those incidents and situations you experienced in this legal profession?
Yes, sir. My experience has always been to be true to myself first, to be honest to myself, then to be honest to the client. Important to be honest to court and to be honest to those who oppose you. Once you have cultivated those qualities, then this path which I have tread over 50 years as a lawyer would not be difficult and has not been difficult. Experiences as such I may not have had many experiences because I have always followed that policy that I told you earlier of honesty, of integrity. That has been the cornerstone of my life and also the cornerstone in my profession.
Sir, if I may ask, what is the most memorable criminal case you ever handled and why it is such a memorable case? I'm sure you have handled thousands of cases, but I would like to hear from you a particular case which you were so affected, remembered.
Well, there have been a few memorable cases. I think the first was the Thomas Cook bank robbery case, where I appeared for the accused and my junior in that case was Mr. De Silva. That case, I remember, we did very well in the cross-examination of witnesses, and when I had decided to make an application under section 200 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, pardon me for saying it, the judge called me to the chambers and said, "Why do you want to do this? Call your witness." I was taken aback. I definitely told him, I will not call my witness. I will make my submission, and left the chambers. I made my submission and the accused was acquitted. That probably would have been memorable because of the attitude of the judge at the High Court. Then of course, another memorable case was when I defended Mr. S.B. Disanayake in a bribery case and assets inquiry. He was very close to me at that time, and this was like a personal matter for me. And I was so happy again I could make an application under section 200. The judge at the High Court did not call me to chambers, but she acquitted S.B. Disanayake. There have been other memorable cases, like the present chairman of Associated Newspapers, Bandula Padma Kumar, when I defended him along with my juniors. He was charged for defaming the then president of Sri Lanka, Chandrika Bandaranayake. I was able to get him out, and I believe it was another section 200 application that I made, and I succeeded. There are, of course, number of other memorable cases, but they all sort of makes me happy.
So now I see in criminal courts, defense lawyers hardly go for jury trials. What is your opinion? How do you decide when you have a case in the High Court whether to go for a jury option or not? What is your criteria on deciding?
My criteria is, in the recent past, with great respect to everyone, the standard of the jurors have come down. So I believe that it is always safe for me to place my case before a judge who has got a lot of experience, probably has been a magistrate, a district judge, and then a judge at the High Court, or may come from the Attorney General's department with again huge experience. So I prefer to leave the client's case to them to decide rather than jurors with whom I have had no experience.
Sir, you became a President Counsel in 90s.
1993.
1993. And you are a very successful criminal lawyer in this profession and very respected gentleman in this profession. And what is your secret for success in this profession? I'm sure you must be having your own way of handling cases, your own way of doing things. But would you like to share some of those tips that make you a successful person in this profession?
Professionally, if one desires to be a success, I believe the main thing is nothing but hard work. To every junior, I would say there is no alternative to hard work. Hard work involves a lot of ways where you can study your brief, you study your charge sheet. So, to summarize, it is hard work. Believe me, when we were doing the Kalat Tower murder case, 6 to 7 months at a stretch, we used to work till about 1:32 in the courts, come home, have lunch, and then by 4 o'clock we used to get the day's proceedings and go to it. And it would be interesting for you to know that I would have been married about 4 or 5 years then. I even forgot the birthday of my wife 1 year when I was doing the Kalat Tower case, and realized it only later in the evening when her sister, my sister and others had come and she was serving cake and all. And to add to it, I had purchased a bread knife from Halstorf, one of those people who came to sell them, and gave it to her coinciding with the birthday. So hard work is one. Second thing, my life has always been a life of honesty. I will not take anybody's property, anything else. So honesty, integrity and morality, especially when you are dealing with ladies as your clients, there must be a high standard of morality. When you are having lady juniors in your chambers, it is of utmost importance that there should be morality. And I am happy that nobody talks ill of my chambers for the last 50 odd years.
Uh, Finally, sir, looking at the current law students and looking at the current level of young lawyers, their knowledge. I'm young to the profession, only 3 months as a lawyer. What is your advice, especially for those who are doing criminal law and those who want to come into the criminal law area? What is your advice to those law students and young lawyers?
It is no fault of the law student, criminal or civil. Unfortunately, our country has been ruled by people who did not think in broader terms. Our children, our young lawyers were forced to study in singles or time. And when they come out, especially from few years ago, when they come out, their knowledge of English is minimal. So, they could not, as we were able to do, read and assimilate knowledge. So, the standard of the lawyer was lower than the standard of the lawyer at the time we took courts. I do not blame the law student, I blame the authorities because they have not been having a vision. Fortunately, the former Chief Justice brought in English into the law college, which is very creditable. Chief Justice Sarath M. De Silva. Now, you see, things like that would help the lawyer, young lawyer. So one is that. Then, as I say, my advice to them is you have to work hard and you have to be honest. As you mentioned in talking to me some time back, Mr. Salih Peiris was honest enough to show the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal that they could act under a particular section though it was harmful to his own client. That is honesty. And that is what we are expected to do. Not to hide what is against us. I always tell my juniors when they prepare written submissions, if there are authorities against you, please put that down also. Which is very, very important because I am not doing a case for myself. The judge is not doing a case for herself, and I expect the prosecutor not to take it as a personal matter. So we must place all our facts before court and we will face the consequences. There is nothing wrong in it. If you have to be convicted, you have to be convicted. So that is, advice is that it's hard work, it is honesty. That alone would suffice, of course. As Mr. Arul Prakasam said once, you should also have some luck. Okay. So, I believe I had the luck. I think I had been honest. And of course, I know I worked hard. And important also is, we seniors must remember we have a duty by the juniors. Very huge obligation. We should treat them as your children and see one day they can take your place. In that way, I am so happy that there are a fair amount of my juniors who can take my place or any other place.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing this very valuable thoughts and vision and your experience. I'm sure those who are watching this video clip will learn this from, and law students or lawyers who are watching this clip will take Ananda sir's advice and use it to make your profession a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.